So good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of CTC Train Canada, I'd like to welcome all of you to today's webinar on 10 exciting new features of Dynamics CRM 2016. I'm sure you'll all be glad you've joined us for today's event. As with any new version of a software, there's always that question, what's in it for me? Is it worth the upgrade? Maybe your company has already upgraded and you're wondering if you're really taking advantage of all of the new features. Well, today's session will look at those questions. We have with us today Krista Langlois. Krista has over 12 years experience with Dynamics CRM, both as working with it, with her customers' implementation, and as well as an instructor. So she brings a nice blend of real-world experience as well as the ability to teach it and explain it to people. So without further ado, I'll pass the word over to Krista. Enjoy the session, and Krista, take it away from here.
Okay, thanks very much for the introduction, Carl, and welcome everybody, and thank you for taking the time to attend the webinar this afternoon. As Carl mentioned, I'm going to be going through what's new in Dynamics CRM 2016. I'm going to be covering a couple features that were also just released in the latest what's called Update 1 as well. So we'll go through a couple of those areas. What I've done is I've grouped it into 10 areas, kind of the top 10 features that I think are the most relevant for the majority of implementations that I see today and the kinds of functions that most companies are taking most advantage of. So as far as our agenda, the top 10 things we're going to go through is one, I'm going to start with navigation and just go through some quick things about how the navigation has changed. We'll talk about some usability and interface enhancements, so some things that make navigating the interface better for users in 2016. I'll talk about some enhancements to Outlook. We'll go through Word templates and what's changed with the Word template functionality. And then I'll talk about Excel too. So we have Excel templates, which are brand new in 2016. And then we also have a redesigned export to Excel too and some new features there that I'll walk through. I'm also going to talk about the mobile features that are new in 2016, and then I have a section here for customer service features. There's 4 or 5 things relevant to people who have a call center or customer service implemented. There's a few features in there that we'll go through, as well as talk about the new knowledge base, and at the end I'm going to wrap up with the new survey functionality. So to start us off, we'll talk about navigation. When it comes to, one prefacing comment I'll make is when it comes to 2016, we have differences between our on-premise version, the on-premise version, and the online version. So some of the features I'm going to go through today are only specific to online, and I'll mention that when that's the case. Some of the features that I'm going to talk about were already released in the 2015 version if you were an online customer, but if you were an on-premise customer, you won't see these until 2016. So if you're an online customer and you have 2015, you might see a couple features where you think, oh, I already have that. That's because it's an online feature that wasn't released until 2016 for on-premise customers. So there's some distinction there between online and on-premise and the different versions. So when it comes to navigation, this is an example of an enhancement that was included as part of Update 1 for 2015 if you were online, but if you're an on-premise customer, you won't see this until 2016. So one new feature that's really nice with 2016 is the new navigation bar. And for those of you that had 2013 and 2015, there was a horizontal scrolling that put a lot of, if you'll see here, in this screenshot, I have sales, and then I have the different things that are scrolling down the bottom now. In previous versions, you had the tiles going across to the side, and you used to have to scroll 2 or 3 clicks sometimes to get all the way over to what you were looking for. So the nice thing now is that all of the subheadings here under sales drop down underneath, and there's no more scrolling to the side or no more horizontal scroll in 2016. Okay, a few usability features to help users navigate the system more quickly. One is recently viewed items. So the recently viewed items basically is just that. So if you've been on 2 different accounts in the last little bit since you've logged onto the system, looked at a couple different opportunities, it'll save the recently viewed records that you've had. And the other thing that you can do is also pin them. And that's really handy. So if you have 5 or 6 accounts as a salesperson or someone in the call center that you're working with regularly, once you've navigated to those and they're in your recently viewed items, you can then pin them and quickly get to them. So you'll see this new little button here. I have a screenshot of it here with the circle. That brings you to your recently viewed items, and then when you hover over one of them, you have this little pin here now where you can pin them, and then every time you come to recently viewed items, you'll always see the ones that you've pinned. The other thing is tab navigation. So for those of you who might have been familiar with 2011 or previous versions, you had the concept of tabs, and users used to go across from left to right with the application. Since 2013 and above, they moved, in order to make the software more mobile friendly and work on iPads and iPhones and that sort of thing, they moved to the vertical scroll. And if you had a complex form that had a number of fields and a number of sections, there could be a lot of scrolling for the user to get to the area that they're looking for. So one of the things that they brought back was the concept of this tab navigation. So if I click on this little icon next to my account, I can see the different tabs that I have: summary, details, additional details, industry data, and I can just click on those and hyperlink directly to that tab or section. So again, that just helps the user with a lot of, I know I've done implementations where the form can be quite long and it can be, the user would have to scroll a lot in 2013 and 2015 before update 1. So that's a nice handy feature where the user can just quickly hyperlink and jump to the section that they'd like to get to more quickly. The other nice thing that you can do in 2016 is personalize the interface. So you can add a logo, or you can change this color scheme using the themes area, and that's in the settings customization area. So you can create a uniform look across your different applications by adding the logo. Some people have in-house custom applications and things that already have a specific look and feel to them. Then when you introduce dynamics, perhaps it's not fitting with your company's look and feel of your other applications, but now you can customize it so you have the look and feel of your organization. You can change the colors, you can add a logo, and that sort of thing. So I'll show you a screenshot here just to give you an idea of that. So it's under the themes, and then here you can see you can add a logo, and then the navigation bars, the shelf colors, the header colors, different UI elements can have different shading and colors depending on your corporate preferences. Okay, another feature just improving usability and less clicks for the users would be being able to filter on the note control. So you can see down at the bottom here, I have a screenshot of the note control here, and the note control is where you can access activities and notes and OneNote. Down below here, there could be a lot of scrolling for users, and the search could be a little bit difficult. So this filter was added so that you could just quickly say, you know, I only want to see phone calls, or I only want to see tasks, and that will quickly give you a filter just to make searching for information in the notes control a little bit easier for users. Okay, the next section I'm going to talk about is Outlook enhancements. So what we have new in 2016 is a CRM app for Outlook. And this has been a long time coming. A lot of people have asked about this for a while. And the new app, what it does allow you to do is to use the Outlook add-on on a Mac, Outlook Web Access in particular, Outlook 2016, Outlook Web Access on Edge. Probably where I see this being the most useful is Outlook Web Access. If as a company you had Outlook Web Access or the light version of Outlook being used, users in the past have not been able to track emails, track appointments, track the things that you could track with the Outlook client. So now users can now do that through Outlook Web Access. The other enhancement that's nice is that when they do track the email, you have more information about what you've tracked it against. So for instance, if you've tracked it against a specific account or customer, you can see the upcoming activities, any open opportunities, or active cases. So it's bringing more CRM data into the interface as well, too. So I'll just show you a screenshot here. Here is in the Office 365 or the light version of Outlook. Here you can say, would you like to track this in CRM? So you press track, and then it's giving me more information about the next activity, the case associated with that customer, any opportunities associated with that customer, any leads. So CRM data appears right next to the email message, as opposed to in the past, you would have clicked the set regarding, and then you would have had to hyperlink in to load the CRM application to see any further details about that account. Now it's right there in line with the email. So here's just another more drilled in screenshot of that, where you see more information about the email recipient, where you can set the regarding, where you can also on the fly add an appointment, phone call, or task activity within that email. So maybe this email is leading you to make a follow-up phone call or set a follow-up appointment. You can do that directly from the screen now too, as opposed to having to switch over into CRM and create those activities. Okay, the other enhancement to the Outlook integration would be the concept of track folders. So a lot of particularly salespeople and a lot of different CRM users or client-facing users often create folders in Outlook where they have a different folder for perhaps each client or a different folder for each opportunity that they're working on. So what you can do now is if you create these folders in Outlook that's connected to Exchange, what you can do is then map those folders to a specific account or opportunity. So here, for instance, if you look at my screenshot below, I'm on a specific account. And if I press this track emails by folder, it brings up a screen where I can say this Exchange folder is now mapped to this specific record. So let's say I have an Exchange folder called Acumen Insurance. I'm going to map it to this account in CRM. And then what I can do is whenever I drag an email into that folder, it automatically tracks it with that regarding set. So the user now only has to drag the email into the folder. They don't have to, in the old version, press track in CRM and then set the regarding. And this works with Exchange inbox rules, so it does require Exchange. So you could get more complex, so you could have a user not have to have any intervention where they could, let's say the customer is Contoso and you have a Contoso folder set up and you have a Contoso, you have an opportunity in CRM for Contoso, you could automatically route any email that comes from Contoso into the folder, and then all of those emails will be tracked against the opportunity in CRM, and the user's actually not having to do anything to track those emails. They're automatically getting into the CRM system without any user intervention. Okay, the next area I'm going to talk about is the Excel and Word integration. So first off, I'm going to talk about the export to Excel. So the export to Excel has been redesigned to allow exporting with a single click, and it can go to the desktop version of Excel, 2007 or later. You can also export to Excel online now. One of the big changes is that when you export, all formatting is preserved. So in the past, you might have seen numeric fields come over as text, and then you had difficulty performing any calculations in Excel. All the formatting is preserved now when you export. Also, any spreadsheet that you export, you can also now re-import. So in the past, with previous versions, you needed to pick a specific file type first when you exported it, and those file types contained what's called the CRM GUID, which is the unique ID of that record, so that when you re-imported the data back in, it would find the GUID in CRM and then update that record as opposed to creating a new one. So now whenever you export, the first columns will contain the GUID, and any spreadsheet can then therefore be re-imported. You can also now export up to 100,000 records at a time, so the previous limit was 10,000, and in any larger implementation, users often butted up against that limit and had trouble exporting records. So now it's up to 100,000, which is much improved and much more usable. The next area that's also been redesigned is the Word templates. So Word templates have always existed in CRM, I think really since the first version, but they had some limitations. The previous versions were good for if you were, creating mailing labels or maybe a simple letter or a template. The Word templates worked well, but if you wanted to do anything more complicated, usually you had to get custom code or development involved. And also it also used the wizard. So it used to use the mail merge wizard, which for users that were familiar with that, it was okay, but it could be a little bit tricky for new users to navigate through and get through that wizard. So now with it being redesigned, there is no wizard. You go directly to the Word document, and you also have more development options. So out of the box, you can do, you can include any data from a one-to-many relationship and data from a related entity. So here I have an example here, just a quick screenshot of creating a template. You can go to Excel or Word. You start with your entity. You can start with a save view and edit the columns, and then you can download the file to create a new one, or you can upload an existing template that you already have and then do the field mappings. So here's an example of something that is actually included out of the box and is possible now. Here we have a letter that's going out to somebody, or this is actually an account summary report, and this used to be done with SQL reporting services, but now it can be done as a Word template, because you can see I have data here. So I have child records for this account, being the recent opportunities and the recent cases as well too on this report. So this would be good to use. There was an out-of-the-box quote that was included in more older versions of CRM, but it didn't usually work very well and it was cumbersome. So now you could create a quote in Word, you could create an account summary document, you could create a proposal. There's a number of different applications now where you can use the Word templates instead of having to build custom SRS reports. That's kind of nice because it gives the user some flexibility to be able to edit once they go out to Word as well. Okay, the next area here is called Excel templates. This is actually a brand new feature, so there weren't any Excel templates in the previous versions. It works similar to Word, to the Word templates. It's also similar to exporting to Excel, but what's nice is that you can add calculated fields, you can add pivot charts, you can insert columns. So where this is really practical is it's a really good tool for forecasting, sales pipeline, or other Excel type reports. So what I've seen with a number of clients in the past, excuse me, is often for things like commission calculations or forecasts, people have an Excel template that they use. They'll take the data out of CRM for all their opportunities. They'll add some columns. They'll massage it. Or maybe add some charts. There's usually some level of manipulation done in Excel to create the report. So now what's nice is once you've created that report and done the Excel manipulation, you can then upload it as a template and then always refresh the data and spit it out right away. So here's an example of an Excel template. So this would be a pipeline analysis. You can see the CRM data below here with topic, potential customer, estimated revenue. You can insert columns here. You can put in calculated fields, and you can also add charts or pivot tables along the top here. You can have different tabs. So now this report could come directly from CRM once you've created the Excel template. Okay, the next part I'm going to spend a few minutes on mobile features. Okay, one update now is that you can now view SharePoint documents in CRM for phones and tablets. You can export data to Excel from CRM, also for phones and tablets. So that was a limitation that you couldn't do before. You can email a link to a page from CRM. So if you know that function in the and the regular client to email a link to a specific record, you can now do that from a phone or tablet. And the mobile apps now support Windows 10 and iOS 9. So here's an example of the SharePoint integration. So here you can access documents now, including SharePoint. Also, there's some new UI controls. So for things like, if you look at the screenshot that I have here on the left-hand side, here we have an opportunity. And here we have the probability. So instead of a user having to click on a field and input the numbers, they have this slider bar now, which is much more user-friendly when you're on a phone. So they can slide the bar across here to increase or decrease the probability. The other option would be it's also a sliding control as well too, but it's more circular. So they can take it from 15% and increase it as well. So there's different controls now which allow the users basically to input the data more effectively on a mobile device. The other thing is, from a customization standpoint, if you're customizing the form, there used to only be a preview for the online client. Now there's also a preview for the mobile client. So now you can see in my screenshot here, there's mobile client, and you can view the tablet or the phone form before you publish and while you're working and doing your customization. So this is included in the online version only for 2016, and I believe it came out with update 1. And this is the ability for offline support. So now you can view, update, and add records when you're disconnected on your phone. So we're still talking about the mobile devices here. So if your mobile device is disconnected, you can still view, update, and add records. You don't have to save things as drafts, and they will be synced when you get a connection. Okay, so the next part here that I'll talk about is surveys. So there's a survey tool included in 2016 that's brand new. There was never a survey entity before. It allows you to create and distribute surveys from CRM. You can connect those surveys to workflows to have actions. So for instance, to have the survey be automatically sent, or to also schedule an activity. So if a survey response comes in that perhaps has an unfavorable response, you can automatically send an alert to an account manager, schedule an activity, that type of thing. Each survey response is linked back to the individual contact record in CRM, and then you can aggregate this data to analyze the survey results. The designer includes radio buttons, tick boxes, star ratings, and the landing pages are responsive so that CRM surveys can be completed either on the desktop, on a tablet, or on a mobile. So here's just a quick screenshot of a survey. So here's an example of if you want to do the faces for people to basically give you their feedback. The other thing is they have the sliding bar here from 1 to 5. You also have the tick boxes here to say from very likely to not likely, and then you have a text box here where people can insert comments. And there's a wizard with the survey to go through previous, next. It also gives you a percentage as far as how complete it is, and then the user can submit it. So it's a pretty easy to use interface for the users as well, and people can do this from their mobile devices. So if they get the email from the survey, they can complete it on their mobile phone and then submit it. Okay, so now I'll go through some service features. First is the Interactive Service Hub. So the service features here are mostly related to people who are running call centers, not the field service side of the business, but the call center customer service side. So there's basically new dashboards and forms that have been created and are available out of the box to help people in the call center prioritize their workloads. There's interactive charts which provide a visual snapshot of important metrics related to their work items, and then also giving them visual filters. And what's new in this dashboard is that the user can take action. So for instance, if there's a list of their cases, right from the dashboard, they could reassign them or resolve them. They don't have to actually drill into the record. So here I'll show you a screenshot. So this is an example of a Tier 1 dashboard. So a user can see cases by basically where they're coming from, email versus web. They can see them by priority. They can see them by incident type, whether it's delivery versus maintenance versus information. Then down here they have a view of all their active cases. They have a view of all their resolved cases and any of their draft emails. Here, for instance, if we drill further into the My Active Cases section, here's where they can select a case and actually resolve it or cancel it. They don't have to drill into the record now, which just saves the user's time. They don't have to drill into the record and open it and resolve it. They can do it directly from the dashboard. Okay, there's also been some enhancements to SLAs, i.e. service level agreements. SLAs used to be applied automatically based on the way that you would set them up. Now you can apply them to case records manually. You can also do it based on business logic using the workflows or the plugins. And what's new here, which is helpful, is you can have multiple SLAs with different business hours and holiday schedules. So if you have customers across maybe different countries or different time zones, and you can have SLAs applicable to those different scenarios. And you can also set up business logic to apply SLAs on the case records based on that customer region to make sure the time, basically the response time calculation, happens correctly in that region. And what's also new as part of Update 1 is that now the SLAs can be used on custom entities and other entities other out-of-the-box entities in CRM. You used to just be able to use the SLA on the case entity, but now you can do it on custom or other entities in the system. There's also this new button which also helps users save time and also ensures that the cases do get routed properly. So in 2015, there was new functionality to route a case based on business logic, based on the type of case or maybe the products involved in the case. You can automatically route it, i.e. assign it to the specific person or the specific queue that would be relevant. So you used to have to save the case and then press a route button, but now you can press save and route, and in one step the user saves the case and it also automatically gets routed for them. Okay, the last part I'm going to talk about here is the knowledge base. I think we're at number 10. So there's been a new entity created, replacing the old knowledge base entity with a new one. And the knowledge base is used as part of the customer service area or the call center area to house basically frequently asked questions and help provide quick responses to customers. So what's new with this new knowledge base, if you were familiar with the old one, when you were creating the knowledge base articles, there were a lot of limitations with respect to editing and content. So what's new now is that you can include embedded videos, images. It also has a rich text editor. So you have advanced styling, you can do linking, you can paste from Word, you can do find and replace, and you can insert tables. So a lot of companies now are, the knowledge base has become much more common to use. A lot of people want to link videos, like maybe a YouTube video with a how-to. They want to put images in with a how-to or be able to put arrows and put screenshots in and that type of thing. So that's possible with this new entity. It has a review and approval process, and then you also have versions that allow you to track the versioning as far as people collaborating and creating different versions of the article. You can add the knowledge base search component to any entity. So although it's most commonly used with the case entity and in the call center, you can have the knowledge base linked to the opportunity if you want to use it to house FAQs about products for salespeople and that type of thing as well. Whenever an article is shared with customers, it also automatically gets recorded, so you can see top content easily and report on that. And now out of the box, in the Interactive Service Hub, which I just showed you in a couple screenshots, there's also a knowledge management dashboard. And that shows you, you can look at it from a person's perspective. That might be the person who's authoring the content, or you can also look at it from a manager's perspective and see what the top articles are and what things are trending basically as far as the articles that are the most common. So here's a couple screenshots. One is just shows you the new knowledge article record, and at the top you can see what stage it's at, authoring, reviewing, publishing. There's a major version and a minor version number. There's a language, because the knowledge-based articles can be translated into different languages. Similar to the old one, there's title, keywords, and description. But down at the bottom here, you'll see a more powerful editor, being able to put in hyperlinks, edit the text, being able to put in images and videos and that sort of thing. So here's a more drilled-in example of the full screen editing. You can also access the HTML source of the article as well. And here it's showing an embedded image or video. And here's an example of the knowledge dashboard. So here you can see my active articles. So this would be somebody who creates and publishes the articles. You can see articles by subject, by owner, views by subject, so which ones have been viewed more, and then by status reason, approved, needs review, proposed, published. So the Interactive Service Hub gives this nice view now of this new knowledge-based article. Okay, so I think that takes us basically to the end of our top 10. So we went through the navigation, the usability and interface enhancements, what's new with Outlook. We looked at Word and Excel, the templates and the export to Excel. We talked about the new mobile features, the customer service features, and then at the end we went through the knowledge base and the surveys. So I thank everybody for your time and attention this afternoon, and I'll open it up now to any questions anybody might have about what we've talked about this afternoon.
Good. Yes, thank you very much for that, Krista. So yeah, again, if you have a question, now's the time to put that into the chat box, and Krista is here to answer that for you. And so while we're waiting on any final questions, I'll just share one screen with you folks. Hopefully today's session answered that question for you on if you haven't upgraded to CRM 2016, well, should you, based on the features that it has available, or if you have already upgraded, well, hopefully it's highlighted some features that you'd like to explore in a little bit more depth and take advantage of. I'll just leave you with this one final screen, unless there's any more questions. If you are interested in furthering your knowledge, we do have a great series of courses. You can find our complete course selection at traincanada.com/CRM, and we have sessions on both versions 2013, 2015, and 2016. So that's what we currently have offering. And as well, if you'd like to join us in any future webinars, we have ones up and coming in the works on SQL Server 2016, Exchange 2016, so a lot of new topics. And if you'd like to keep up to date on that, you can go to our newsletter and sign up there, and that will keep you up to date on all of those. So again, I don't believe we've had any further questions on that. Content was well covered, so thank you very much, Krista, for sharing that with us. I'm sure everybody enjoyed that, and we'll be looking forward to our next webinar. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good rest of the day.